Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel. I am Benjamin Williams and today we're going to be doing another lab within the home lab. Today's video is going to be on InterVlan routing and we're going to be doing that on this layer 3 switch. This is a Cisco Catalyst 3750 switch. It is a 48 porter. And today basically what we're going to do, if you take a look at kind of the topology that we have laid out on the desk, these 12 ports on this switch are going to be in VLAN 10, and these 12 ports are going to be in VLAN 20. This computer right here, which is my MacBook, is going to be connected to VLAN 10, and this HP computer right here is going to be connected into the VLAN 20 ports. So basically what we're going to do is, the first thing I'm going to show is the actual configuration on the switch. And then we're going to plug each device in to the ports, configure the IP address information on each device, and then see if we can ping each other. And that's going to be before we enable IP routing on this switch. So this switch will still be performing in a layer 2 as a layer 2 switch. So because it will be performing as a layer 2 switch, these two devices will not be able to communicate with one another. In order to do that, we have to have a layer 3 device. So then after we see the pings are not successful, we're going to enable IP routing on this switch. And that's going to make this switch IP aware. And then from there, we can route between networks because we have a layer 3 device because we enabled IP routing. All right. So let's go. Let me bring up the configuration that we're going to be using, and I have a list of some of the commands that's going to help me throughout the video. But we can see we're going to configure an SVI on the switch. We're going to have an IP address of the VLAN 10 SVI to be 192.168.10.1, and for VLAN 20 its SVI is going to be 192.168.20.1. We can see the interfaces that are going to be in each VLAN. We can see the fast Ethernet 1 through 12 is going to be in VLAN 10. And the fast Ethernet 12 through 24 is going to be in VLAN 20. So I already have my console port on this switch connected up into my laptop. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Putty up on my laptop now. And we're going to go from there. All right, so we're connected into the console cable of this switch, as we can see. All right, so we did a fresh reload, but I did have some VLANs configured on this switch from before, and we know that the VLAN information is stored in VLAN.dat file, and that file does not get changed with a reload of a router. All right, so let's just first check our running config just to make sure we're dealing with a clean running config. So let's do a show run. Just to check our interface information. All right, so we can see PVST is running on this switch, and our interface information looks to be fresh. So that looks good, and our VLAN 1 interface has no IP address, so that looks good as well. All right, so let's do a show VLAN brief to see if we have any VLANs configured on this device. And I think we should because we didn't clean the VLAN.dat file. And yet we can see that we have the VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 VLANs already on this switch. So if we do a configure terminal, if they were not configured on this switch, we would just do a VLAN 10 and hit exit. And then we would just do a VLAN 20 and hit exit, but that's just basically doing what we already had configured inside of the device already. So if we do a do show VLAN brief, we should see the same information that we just seen. And yes, we see the VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 information. All right, so now the next thing that we want to do is configure the actual ports inside of the proper VLANs. So all of our ports by default are in VLAN 1. But if we remember from the start of the lab, we said that we were going to take the fast Ethernet 01 through 12 to be inside of VLAN 10. We're going to take the dot 13 through 24 to VLAN 20. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that on our switch. So let's go into interface range for fast Ethernet. For fast Ethernet 202/0/1 through 12. All right, let's do switch port mode access to make sure that these are access ports. We want to be specific in making them an access port so they do not try to negotiate. All right, and let's do a switch port access VLAN 10. All right, let's do an exit. Let's go do the same thing for the rest of the interfaces that are going to be in VLAN 20. That's going to be in VLAN 20. Let's do an interface range for fast Ethernet, and we set 2/0/13 through 24. All right, and we want to do a switch port mode access and a switch port access VLAN 20. All right, let's do an exit. And now let's do a do show VLAN brief again. All right, so now we can see that the fast Ethernet 01 through 12 are in VLAN 10, and the fast Ethernet 013 through 24 are in VLAN 20. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to configure a management or SVI interface on the VLAN 10 and also the VLAN 20 interfaces. So if I do a do show IP interface brief, we can see that we do not have any IP address information for the VLANs that we created. We don't even have an IP address for the VLAN 1. All right, so what we want to do is we want to configure an IP address for VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 because we're going to have this laptop right here is going to be on VLAN 10 and this one is going to be on VLAN 20. All right, so let's go into interface. Let's do an interface VLAN 10. All right, and we want to do an IP. Let's do an IP address of 192.168.10.1 255.255.255.255.0. So let's do a /24. All right, and let's do an exit. Let's go into interface VLAN 20. Let's do an IP address. Let's do a IP address 192.168.20.1. Let's do a 255.255.255.0 for a /24-bit subnet mask. All right, and let's do an exit. And let's do a do show IP interface brief now. All right, so now we have SVI interfaces configured on our VLAN 20 and our VLAN 10 interfaces. So this gives us a management IP address on this switch. So if we want to be able to connect to this device remotely, we'll be able to remotely get into one of these IP addresses. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to connect the actual PCs themselves. So if we remember, we said that our connection to our Mac is going to go into the VLAN 10. So let's go ahead and make that connection. All right, and also what I can do before we do that, let's unplug. And to make this device come up faster on the network, let's configure port fast right quick on the switch. All right, so let's go to interface range for the fast Ethernet 201 through 24 because we're using all of those ports in this video right here, this demonstration. And let's do a spanning tree spanning tree port fast. All right, so that'll allow this port to come up automatically because it's going to be an edge port. All right, so now let's go back and make this connection. So our PC into the VLAN 10. All right, let's bring this laptop out of sleep mode. Let me move it out the way so I can put in my password credentials. Put in my password credentials. All right. So we have my laptop back now. And we can see that green light is on for our VLAN 10. So let's do the same thing for this HP computer. Let's plug it into the VLAN 20 ports. We configure port fast on this one. So if I take this out of sleep mode, we should see a green indication, and we do on VLAN 20. So let me move this laptop out of the view so I can put the credentials in for the password. All right. So we have both computers up now, and you can see both of the lights are on. So the next thing that we want to do is configure the actual IP address on each device. So let's go into each device and configure the IP address information. All right, so we have the IP address information up for this Mac. So let's go ahead and configure its IP address to be 192.168.10.100. All right, and we want a /24 subnet mask, so 255.255. Let me adjust that. 255. We want to take the second one and put a 255 if it'll let me. It's not allowing me. 255. Okay. /24. And we want to do a .10 for our default gateway or router, but we haven't actually set up IP routing within the switch yet, so it's still operating as a layer 2 switch. So it's going to separate the VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 VLAN. So let's go ahead and hit OK. That looks good. So now let's go ahead and do the same thing over on the HP laptop now. All right, so we have the IP address information pulled up on this HP now. So let's go ahead and change it to be 192.168.20.100. We wanted it to be a /24-bit subnet mask. We want this default gateway to be .20.1, so 192.168.20.1, and it's all right to use 8.8.8.8 for its DNS server as well. So let's hit save there. All right, so we have both terminals up on each PC. So we have not enabled IP routing or InterVlan routing or any type of layer 3 functionality on this switch. It's operating as a layer 2 switch. So one PC is in VLAN, this PC is in VLAN 20, this computer is in VLAN 10. So these PCs will not be able to communicate with each other because they're in two different VLANs and subnets. So let's go ahead and test that out. Let's test that theory. So let's ping to 192.168.10.100, which is my Mac's IP address. And are we able to ping? No, we're not able to ping to that VLAN or subnet. As you can see, we're getting request timeouts right there. All right, so that's not working. Let's try the same thing on my Macs. Let's do a ping to 192.168.20.100. That is the IP address of this HP computer. And as you can see, we're getting request timeouts there as well. Let's try to request timeouts, all right? So those are not working either. So let's do a Control-C to cancel that. All right. So now, let's see if we can ping the actual default gateway that we configured on each of the interfaces. So let's do a ping to 192.168. This is .20.1, which is the SVI that we configured on the switch for the VLAN 20 SVI. Let's see if we can ping that. Can we ping that? Yes, we can. One of the pings failed because of ARP, but from there, after ARP was finished and completed, we were able to ping the SVI on the switch. Let's see on the Mac, can we do the same thing? Let's ping to 192.168.10.1. That is the SVI we configured for VLAN 10. And as you can see, we're getting replies from that ping. All right, so we are able to ping the SVIs that we configured on the switch, which is perfect. So now what do we want to do? Well, let's go on the switch. Let's go back to the console connection on the switch, which is what I want to show you guys right there. All right, so we're back on the switch. So now we want to do IP routing on the switch. And basically what this is going to do to this switch is turn this switch into having layer 3 capabilities. So now this PC, which is on VLAN 20, will be able to communicate with this PC that is on VLAN 10. And that is because it will be doing InterVlan routing. And that is because we enabled layer 3 capabilities on this switch when we configure IP routing on this switch. So let's go ahead and type in IP routing. All right, and let's do an end. All right, so before we were not able to ping this PC over here, which was the IP address was 192.168.10.100. It was in a different VLAN and subnet. So let's try that again. And now immediately you can see we can ping that this PC, which is in a different VLAN. Before we enabled IP routing, we were not able to do that. We were getting request timeouts. So let's do the same thing over here. Let's do to a ping to 192.168.20.100, which is this HP right here. All right, let's do that ping. And we are getting responses, as you can see. We're getting replies from those pings. All right, so that will complete this lab. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.